The Federal Ministry of Education has suspended the evaluation and accreditation of degree certificates from the Republics of Benin and Togo until further notice. The suspension, which takes effect from January 2nd, 2024, that's today, was contained in a statement signed by Augustina Obialo-Duru on behalf of the Director of Press and Public Relations of the Ministry. Now, this comes on the heels of investigative journalism that unveiled how some Nigerians deploy nefarious means and unconscionable methods to get a degree from the two countries, intending to get graduate job opportunities for which they are not qualified. I think that's the tragedy of it all. Well, 90% of students in Benin Republic University are Nigerians. President of Hundegbe North American University in the Republic of Benin, Dada Hundegbe, said this during the university's award of degrees and conferment of honorary awards to its graduating students and other local and international personalities. Well, according to him, there is currently a growing interest of many young Nigerians in the courses being offered by the university, its affordability and good learning environment. Now, with this latest development, what will the fate of these Nigerians who have invested time and resources in learning in these institutions? Well, let's speak with Professor Abiodun Adeniyi of the Postgraduate School, Bayes University, Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you again.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
As a university don yourself, I mean, this must really come as a shock, necessarily.
No, it's not a surprise. It's
not a surprise.
Yeah, we have this kind of shenanigan everywhere in the world. What simply matters is for the regulatory authorities, to be up and about, to be alert to their responsibilities, and trying as much as possible to checkmate them. And how do you checkmate them? I'm just keeping the monitoring mechanisms alive. But first, I think the Ministry of Education deserves commendation for this swift decision to suspend degrees from those two countries. And if you look at it critically, it may not necessarily be the fault of the government of those countries or even the fault of the university authorities. It's possible that there are some officials in those universities, that are just determined to pervert the process, just to gratify themselves. Those officials will be the personalities or the individuals that should be fished out and sanctioned appropriately. But to say that you can have a completely tidy environment where there won't be bad eggs that want to pervert an otherwise salutary process is out of the way, it's after the mark. You definitely find it, but continue to find this kind of deviations. But what matters is the steps regulatory authorities put in place across the world to checkmate them, as the case could be.
But when you hear from the university don there that 90% of the students at this particular university, the Hundegbe North American University in Benin, are actually Nigerians. Yeah, what does that even tell you?
Yeah, it's not also unexpected. We're a nation of nearly 220-something million people, according to UN projections. And the bulk of our population are youths needing university education. We exist in a country where we place a lot of emphasis on certification. And of course, when you're talking about basic certification, the university certificate is emphasized in the matrix. So you see the average young person who wants that university education. And sometimes there's a level of desperation where, because of the limited carrying capacities of Nigerian universities, they want to externalize in their hope of getting admission. And sometimes when they cannot afford the expensive Western countries or the Eastern societies, they look within the African region. And of course, if Benin and Togo is receiving them at plenty, it's not going to be surprising. Right. But we also have to recognize the fact that Nigerian authorities are also not doing badly. NUC is trying as much as possible to register as many universities as possible, provided they meet the basic requirements. But you see, there has to be a marriage, between the desire of proprietors to get their university licenses, and the ability to provide quality education.
Now that seems to be where the problem lies, providing quality university education for many years, you would hardly find a Nigerian university making the first 1,000, you know.
There are so many things responsible for it, really.
So it's one thing to have universities everywhere, but it's another thing to have quality education.
But see, quality can also be contextual, you know, because yes, I know that we may not be in the first 1,000, but of course you find us in the first 2,000. And this does not mean that efforts are not on, but there are so many factors that come together, you know, to create this kind of unpalatable score that we keep having, you know. And of course, we cannot discount the position of our political economy, you know, relative to countries that are doing very well, you know. And of course, one of it again is the question of environment, resources, performance at the level of alumni, you know. What is the position of our alumni?
Giving back to the system.
Giving back to the system. And there are so many other factors that come into place, really, which doesn't make us suitable, which is a sort of disadvantage, which amounts to some kind of disadvantage, really. So we should be careful, really, using those metrics to judge us. You know, there are fantastic Nigerian universities that are doing very well.
No doubt. I'm
not discounting the credibility of these measuring criteria, but I'm just saying that Nigerian universities cannot also be undermined given their rating in terms of the production of graduates who have gone elsewhere and were outstanding as well, you know, which just tells us that our pedagogy cannot be underrated.
Let's look at the bigger picture in terms of the long-term impact this could have, where you know, a student does not want to go through the process, but he wants to get the outcome, which is the degree, the paper. He may find himself in public office tomorrow. I mean, with the same papers, and where does that lead us as a nation? What are the implications?
Yeah, of course, grave short and long-term implication. But the system has a way of finding out, you know, bad eggs, or you know, somebody who is not worth it, you know, who is below par.
Right.
Most of the time, crime may be hidden just in the meantime, but in the longer run, you are likely to expose yourself, you know. If not in the immediate circumstance, but maybe sometimes in the future. And that's why it's always good, you know, to follow the rules, you know, do things as appropriately as possible so that you can continue to keep your heads high.
Is it the time when we need to begin to let the average Nigerian young man or woman realize that, look, it's not really about that degree. If you have a skill, you can also be useful to society. I mean, if you go to the developed world, they'll tell you it's the artisans, you know, the plumber, the carpenter, the skilled worker that actually builds the economy.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about us trying to educate our youths on alternatives. It's just about...
Because it seems to be a desperate situation to just get that paper, get that certificate.
People can also be desperate trying to create alternatives, you know, in looking for jobs that will put them in the line of being technicians. They can also be desperate. So it's a problematic mindset, you know, which revolves around, you know, trying to circumvent processes and procedures. It leads us again to the question of value, the kind of value that we subscribe to. And we're likely a system where we do not prioritize value, which is a problem. You know, attitudinal reorientation is very, very important in the circumstance, and there are different ways in which you know, good virtues, you know, can lead us to doing things correctly. That's something that we shouldn't lose sight of.
Absolutely, and it's a good place to leave it. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi of Bayes University. Thank you so much for joining us. Also an Arise News analyst.